normal. We're supposed to be losing members every week, and it's growing.
I was going to say, is this thing not supposed to be shrinking every week? That's what you told me. Like 10%, you said. You said, Johnny, you're shy.
Did we
You're a
go
nervous guy. Look, there's only
viral?
going to be 10%.
Viral. We've gone viral. I don't know. I've never been viral. I've always gone to LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, 10,000 views.
Yeah.
I got you some bots.
Yeah, but views don't get you. Views don't get you likes. That's the thing, isn't it? Views views don't get you money.
Well, I'm working on my brand, Johnny. Like, I'm just trying to brand.
Yeah, I
What do
can
you
see
think?
it. Can see it in the background there. There's
You
half an
got my
Enzo.
brand. I'm
Half an
at my
Enzo.
half brand. Wow,
Yeah.
so many good faces. Well, Johnny, I want to give you the floor to kick this sucker off. Great to see everyone. Thanks for making time.
Yeah, yeah. The week's flown by. Yeah, I guess I read through we got our draft back yesterday of the book, which is incredible to see. Um, this thing come to life.
Exactly.
So, but I think the thing that it taught me, as I'm looking through it and I reread it, I'm like, you know what, the biggest thing I learned from this is from writing it and then reading it back is the tactics are the smallest piece. So I see a lot of clients and I see everybody in the group. There's so much tactics, tactics, tactics. What's the DM? What's the template? What do I do in the sales call? Like, what should I say? Um, but I've just found that you can't fake it. You just can't fake it. I think the ultimate frame is it's got to be real. So whether it's the cold DM, whether it's walking on a deal, whether it's confidence in closing a sale, just has to be real, has to be congruent with who you are. And if you don't feel it, they won't feel it. And so that's why one client can just go out and crush it in a month. Another client still at it 8 months later saying, send me the template. What should I say? How do I respond? So, I just think tactics are the tiniest thing in what we do. And once you kind of transcend that and start to see people as people and not data, then everything changes. It did for me. And so, yeah, I mean, I'd love to open the floor. Who's got a question that kind of falls in line with that? Maybe something they've read in the book, draft, or something that takes this to another level. I'm open to go. I can't see the hands raised as you can, Justin. So
Well, we have a lot of raised hands. Nice red shirt, man. I was going to ask you about DMs, so I'm a little disappointed. Want to do chat flows again?
I'm sure we'll get there. We always do.
Yeah. No, but I see we got Sam Palazzolo. That's cool. In the house, we got some consultants, coaches. You're all over the world from Singapore, maybe even to Hawaii. I think some people get up in the middle of the night for this. Who has a big burning question, desire, something that's high stakes to kick this off? Not necessarily tactical. Maybe just come off the mic. I see one hand. I just see Mario. Who else has their hand up? Nobody wants to go.
Go.
Ah, we
Mario
got.
go.
I see it.
I see Kendra too. So maybe we'll do Mario. How about you? And then Kendra to get
Yeah.
into.
Well, this is mainly a common, Johnny, for one piece of words that you said is that like be yourself. But when I work with JM one-on-one, especially on a call calling, and I would like to kind of open the floor for this discussion is Justin told me don't be yourself. You have to be calm, no excitement, flat voice, which it takes everything when I do call calling to be really flat and not get excited. So can you guys maybe comment on that part? Be yourself versus not be yourself, or be who or whatever you need to be to kind of get the job done.
Well, I mean, I'm going to hand in a second to Justin on the call piece because he's got more intel on it. But what I would say is that I've just found that tactically there are best practices. There are things that one should do, but there's so many tactical things and things that one should do that I've tried to do over the years and just fallen flat and just gone, can't do it, doesn't work, doesn't register. People are not reconciling what they see in me with what they hear and the behavior that I kind of exude. So I think it's a fine balance, between what's best practice and what I should do, and then just behaving like a robot and coming off flat, and people are like, don't resonate, don't get it, see ya, versus best practice. But Justin, is there a place where it meets? Is there a middle ground?
Well, I think we're talking about raising the frame, right, and being our highest self. And I do think that sales can be a bit like boxing. Like I always warn people on the call, I have a yellow belt in Aikido, so don't be intimidated. There are actual black belts here. But when you're learning to kickbox, you have to often like lean into the punch, which is really strange physically, right, to train yourself to do these things. So when you're on the phone for 10,000 hours, and when you're sending lots of emails or you're trying to get in touch with people, they are used to the approach. Like 99% of people have a certain heuristic, a certain sort of like meta signature. And so training yourself to actually act unnaturally to how you'd wing it, rather than, hey, how you been? Or just sending an obvious outreach. And so a lot of my techniques are going into the neuroscience of pattern interrupts. Um, and now I kind of act unnaturally all the time. Like unnatural has become natural because the techniques work. It's a great trigger, like money on the other side, right? But um, yeah, so that's something to think about. A great technique is just put yourself in the perspective of the person on the other side. And is this thing really going to stand out? Great question. Hope that was helpful for people. If you have a interesting pattern interrupt, send it our way or put in the DMs. Kendra, what's on your mind?
Well, I'm just my first weekend, so nice to meet all of you. So I know, Justin, you and I have been chatting on this. I have a proposal out to an eight-figure company that wants to partner with me. And I'll just be honest here, I have a tendency to give the farm away. I have a tendency as a giver, I just give a lot. I think a lot of it also comes from being in corporate where, there's no limit on value. You kind of feel like you give everything to the company that pays you. And so I love any helpful thoughts and strategies in addition to just reading the book and really trying to internalize the frame method and the seven-figure formula on how to make sure I just hold my frame during the negotiating and I give them just enough, but I'm not being greedy, but at the same time, I'm not over delivering. So I'm open to any thoughts on that. It's a pretty high stakes conversation for me a weekend. It could end up being, just to set context, we'd be charging between 80,000 and 150,000 per executive. And he's looking to bring in over 100 executives in the next year. And I would get rev share and royalties on it.
So I'm interested to know when you say I I give away the farm, I'm interested to know what that means.
Well, I think in the past, and I won't get into all the reasons as to why, but I think in the past, I just had a tendency to undervalue my ideas, and which is technically my IP. And I'm okay with sharing that, but I've had a lot of conversations where I've given people an idea just because it lights me up and I enjoy that process. But then I've seen them go off and make like money off of it. But I put that accountability back on me because it's like, well, I gave it to them and I didn't say, I didn't have boundaries, right? And I didn't do that. So I think just being really cognizant and recognizing my own value and I am really good strategically and I'm a very big idea generator and I over index on that in all of the psychometric assessments and everything. So just really recognizing that that's a superpower I have and how do I monetize that?
Yeah. So it's kind of you want to go into consultative mode when you're in the sales motion, basically, and you want to start to help them before they've paid you.
Yeah. And I think that comes from, track record and history of, trying to show value, improve worthiness and stuff. And now I've healed that. But what I'm currently doing is unbreaking those habits and patterns.
Yeah. I think that I did this a lot. Justin could attest to it. I did this a lot when I first went into consulting and came out of business, and I just kind of thought the two are the same. And so I just wanted to totally overvalue, totally give all this value and, look how much I know basically, and look how much I can help you and walk you through it. And here's what we'll do. And it did one of two things, as you said. It either had them just go and say, well, I've kind of got what I need, or just ghost me. And then I'm like, well, where have they gone? I don't get it. I mean, why do these people not want to buy from me? And it was because people don't value information unless they've paid for it. I think psychologically they don't value it. So it's kind of throwaway. So they'll make notes and kind of just say, yeah, okay. So there's that piece. And then there's also the other half of people don't like to receive advice and guidance from people that they haven't decided to onboard and take that advice from. So I've just found that. So I've found that keeping it high and kind of high level and having a framework for it, but not in the weeds of how we're going to solve this problem, leaves them wanting to lean in and come on board. So, but I just saw Sam Palazzolo's hand go up. Great client of mine, ex Deloitte. Sam, can you bring some value to that?
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Hi, Justin. I'm guilty as charged. I have had the client discovery call where they took one snippet of something I said within a 10-day time period. They closed $1.2 million worth of business and looked at me and said, when I circled back to, hey, we're going to go, right? Next month, we're on. They said, we like what you did so much. We need to do more of it, but we need to do it internally before we engage with you. So thanks, but no thanks. So I'm right there. I'm guilty with you. My policy is I will give it away. I will give it away. If you think you can do it DIY, great. My sense is with that organization, they did $1.2 million in 10 days based off of the conversation we had. If we'd worked together, we could have then done 12 million. So go get them if you think you can. I'm not one of those all hat, no cattle guys, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's my 2 cents, if that helps.
That's awesome, Sam. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right from the horse's mouth. So, right, what have we got, Paulina?
Yeah, no, I was just going to offer an opinion on that. So this is something I've really learned from content writing from another group that I'm in. And what people value is not advice, it's being able to pinpoint the problem better than they can pinpoint it themselves, right? So repeat the problem in a way that you're like, oh my God, how do you know me so well, right? And they get all emotional about it. And so it's like, if they know your problem better than you know your problem, that means they have the answer and they're going to pay you for the answer, right? So I'm trying to do my content writing like that, still working on it.
Helpful. Thank you. I appreciate everyone's input.
Amazing. Can you see? I can't see the full board that Justin can because I get really scared when I see loads of people, so I just narrow it right down. So Justin,
Yeah, who wants to go? Who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants to go first? Call a lifeline. Anybody? So the whole idea of this group, right, is raising the frame, a higher frame, identity, being, but a lot of us are dealing with high stakes situations. And I almost think the book could have been called Pre-frame, like the way Cialdini went from persuasion to pre-suasion. But there's a lot of situations in life where you have 5 seconds. You have a very limited amount of a time to make a first impression or to set the room. And Oren Klaff talked about this. But what was cool in the book in chapter 10, we talked about resetting the frame. So I wonder if anyone has a story about when you're in the middle of a huge deal or in the middle of a high stakes situation, it started going to south and you turned it around. That would be a cool story. I don't know. I can call on so many people. Does anyone want to share something like that? Just come off the mic if you like.
Yeah, I'll have to give that one a little bit more thought. I think that's a great topic. I've got one thing that sort of aligns to that a little bit. So I've got a handful of proposals out there, and a couple of them, well, a few of them actually are, ghosting. I put the proposal out, and then they're no longer to be seen. And I think potentially there's elements of what Kendra was talking about. Maybe I think there might be a little bit too much info in there. Maybe they're running with it, but some of these I just know they need the help, and they don't understand that they don't have the skill to implement it. So at what point to avoid the kind of, hey, just circling back, hey, just checking in, did you get the proposal? Aside from that, are there techniques where you are kind of giving them an ultimatum, like, hey, get back to me, or the proposal's off the table? I'm going to withdraw the offer. Is there techniques or tactics that anyone can suggest from that perspective?
There's a couple of things that I do before the takeaway, which you've just described, or as Kevin Casey would call it, the Ghostbuster. But what you would typically do is, as Justin always says as well, agrees with me on, is act as though it's already a done deal. First of all, it's already a done deal on the first follow-ups. So you wouldn't say, look, I'm circling back on this. Do you want to, or just checking in, is this deal still live? But you might say, Simon, I was just thinking about our conversation. You mentioned a book deal. I've got some connections that might be able to help you with that. Nothing else. So something relevant to their case, and it kind of triggers that reciprocity. So you get people come back out of that and say, oh, that'll be really useful. And by the way, I'm ready to go. But if that continues, I do the Ghostbuster. So I closed a client, I think it was for 25 grand a few days ago, and shared it with Justin. But the email that I sent was, look, you've gone quiet on me. That's all good. Looks like you've solved this issue on your own. If you ever need help with it, come back to me. You'll know where I am. The guy came straight back. Don't close the file. I'm good to go. I just needed the time, literally. So I think, but the key to it is, as I said at the start, it's really committing to that. So you can't go half in and think, yeah, but I really want the deal, so I don't want to blow it. You've got to be like, you know what? I'm detached. I don't care. The email's gone. And only then will it actually trigger that. So you've got to mean it. Like, actually, I'm not messing around. I'm not chasing you. It's closed from my part. So yeah, I would add some value, but then I'd just be like, hard stop, and it works.
Yeah, so just to chime in, right, there's this principle, I think Hardison called it event action. It's like you went to the Bruce Springsteen concert, and then a week later you're like, yeah, that was a great concert. And a month later, you're like, did we go to Springsteen? And a year later you forget. So another thing, Simon, is striking when the iron is hot. And I call this the parasitic decay rate. So you get somebody charged up to change, and the enemy is do nothing, or the status quo. And days go by and a week goes by, and then deals go to die. So it's really important to really move fast once they're kind of emotionally charged and in the buying zone. So there's a lot of techniques to do that. Booking the next call, booking a call to review the proposal, so they're sort of on the hook to do that with other people. But yeah, that decay rate is really kind of intense. There's an NLP technique called Futurecasting, which you always hear Jordan Belfort talk about, but it's kind of at the beginning of my 7 steps that I shared in the chat. So you're kind of going like, here's the future, here's the dream, here's the goal, and you get to the end and you get into fees, and you're in the context of affordability versus possibilities. You have to kind of sell them the dream again. So when you hit them up in the follow-ups, you're hitting them up for a proposal, and they're kind of going fee. But if you're hitting them up and being like, aren't you trying to get to the 3 million run rate or 5 million run rate, or really make this change, or here's the dream that you wanted, step 1, you can trigger them. Or it's away from pain. It's really risk, continuously highlighting that risk, right? Because people tend to move away from risk. One of my mentors, Tony, he had like the Widowmaker block, like his artery was almost 100% blocked, and now he's like a health nut. So that happens. Yeah, where else can we go? I saw a lot of raised hands.
Can I just quickly chime in on this? I had a very similar situation where I had 2, 3 conversations with a CEO. Phenomenal, as you said, very, very hyped, and then he goes kind of into this radio silent stuff and all of that. Then never send, just checking in and hey, where we are with this crap. So I just send him a message, say, hey, you sounded very enthusiastic to begin. Do you still want to do it? If yes, let's talk. If no, just let me know and I will fuck off. I didn't say fuck off. And now I closed to coach him, well, advisor to him and his executive team. which wasn't on a table before. So there you go, boys.
It's great. It's great because that's basically what you've done. It's the takeaway, and he's felt it. It's real. It's like, he doesn't need the business, and he's given me an out instead of saying, "Is this a yes?" It's like, look, is it a yes, or is it a no? If it's a no, it's cool. Oh, right, okay, I've got permission to say no. Now I kind of want to say yes. So it's great. It's amazing. Great example.
Awesome. John Stevenson has his hand up. John, I just want to.
Hey gang, I just
I want
had
to go
a
into your
panic moment. I
background.
was jotting something down. I'm like, oh crap, I'm on mute and I can't find my mute button, but hopefully you guys can hear me. Great to see everyone. So Justin, you said something at the beginning of the call that really kind of caught my interest. So this is a little bit different directionally, but I would love to hear you riff on this a little bit if you have some thoughts beyond what you mentioned, which was this concept of persuasion versus persuasion. And there was a study that was done that resonates for me because I just heard this recently, that there was a study that was done where somebody went into like a pitch basically, and they served a hot cup of coffee. Does anyone know about this study? So they served the receiving party a hot cup of coffee, and then the B test, they gave them a cold cup. And at the end of that, the folks who had the hot coffee felt like the meeting went great. They loved the guy, felt very warm towards them. And the one who had the cold coffee felt the exact opposite. And this was pretty consistent throughout this entire study. So they were talking about this idea of like, I think many of us, I know you'd believe in this, Justin, that like what you expect to get is what you're going to get. So the idea of persuasion is seeding that, and it also feels a lot like frame to me. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this if you have anything to add to that.
Well, it's interesting, like I was like a jazz musician in my teens and I was kind of shy. So I don't really know what happened. I think 20 years of sales just kind of beat it out of me. I started to realize that I needed to become powerful to get this stuff done. I used to go into board meetings and I'd sit down next to them with like a little clipboard. And by the end, I was standing at the front, in front of the monitor, because basically I had this boss come from Disney and Microsoft. It's like, this is performance, man. Like, get up there, like, entertain. So I'm not necessarily saying you have to power pose. There's a lot of really powerful things you can do, even if you're an introvert. But it's kind of like how you show up to the call. There's this one, I don't know which book it was in, but you enter a room and you don't look at everyone in the eye. You actually avoid any eye contact with the room. So you can all try this week. Go into a room. I don't know if you can go in any big rooms, and don't make any eye contact, or just pick one person. And it's really crazy because you'll suck all the oxygen out of that room. Like everyone will look at you because you didn't look at anyone. It's really weird.
That's Oren.
Is that Oren? I don't know.
That's Oren. Yeah, that's Oren.
Keep me honest, that works. Well, I think you got it from like Goffman or something from the 70s. But yeah, the whole idea of the pre-frame is who you're being and what your identity is when you show up to something. And some of that is reps, right? Like I came up in performance, so I was on a ton of stages. So I tend to be calm. And I'm noticing Kendra is really calm too, because she does public speaking and trains people to public speak, which is very cool. Does anyone have any ideas on pre-frame, persuasion, what you do before the meeting, the speech? Who wants to go and help John with this one?
I saw Christina drop a comment in there that looked like she looked like somebody who had an answer. Am I right? No? Anyone else? No. I mean, yeah, I'm with you, Justin. I think there's the frame set, but then there's also the persuasion, and I think some of that happens at the start of the call. And you and I have had discussions where, like you're called, I come in, I'm like, dude, what's with the Enzo? And you're like, oh, the Enzo, yeah, well, let me, and it's immediately you open up to me, where everybody enters and just goes, okay, so, the purpose of this meeting is to, and everybody's like, fuck, right, I'm ready, So I think that some of that is setting the frame at the start of the call in that sense, and there's certain pattern interrupts you can do to do that. That's a good one. Pick something in the background or unusual and just hit. I've hit people with like, you calling me from the Lamborghini today? And they're like, yeah, man, wish I was.
I had a call with a guy who called me from the back of his Maserati with the Maserati on, and the classic one, status cues Mario, is Oren Klaff when he takes calls has his Lamborghini in the Zoom call. He stands in a sound stage and he has the car there. There's risks there that can come off a little.
Both his Lamborghini and that giant fucking SUV that he drives. The monster
Yeah.
truck. Did you see the monster truck?
I
Yeah.
haven't seen. I don't know if I'd be more liked on this call if I like wheeled out the vehicle, but
Yeah.
I was
Sam,
thinking almost in terms of like what you're doing ahead of that, like maybe some of what you're seeing. And to me, I feel like a lot of it, like from a frame perspective, we're doing a ton of DMs, and I'm still in a world where I'm like running a sales organization. So training a lot of those people, work directly with Justin, and got a lot of like great stuff out of JMM, and we're doing a lot of that. But I feel like a lot of it is in this concept of persuasion. What's resonating for me is like it's how you're handling your business from the very first encounter that you have with them, like what you're DMing to them in your spears, and maybe something that you might send over to them, ahead of time, ahead of an initial conversation or call, like in a discovery session or something along those lines. So that's kind of where my head is around it.
Yeah, I call those well, the kind of nuggets, that you leave, but if you do it too obviously. So you're right, and I was going to touch on this. Some of the stuff I do before a call is I'll leave them little nuggets of things to find instead of saying, you might like to read this before we meet, which then feels like I'm in a sales funnel and now I want to thrash and cancel. It's more like the note that I send might inconspicuously have a link to a page that I know they're going to land on, and they're going to go, "What's that?" and click it. And then they tend to come in and say, "Oh, I noticed that page, and I've got a feel for your method." So, "Oh, right, okay." So I own the frame when I come into the call, or sometimes I'll stress test. So the persuasion might be before the call. I might say, "Hey, we're meeting later today. What is it you'd like us to focus on?" So I have them, kind of qualify themselves to me. So I'm coming into the call and I've already got that thing where they've gone, "What does Johnny do? Like, why is he asking me this?" I know. So then when they show, there's an element of that persuasion and pre-frame there. So, that's some of the stuff that I've found.
I'll take a huge swing. Like one thing Jill Conrad said back in the day is to be consultative, be assumptive. So in this day and age of ChatGPT, I'll do some research and I'll come in and I'll have an assumption. And if it's wrong, I'll still own it because at least I'm not the empty suit. Unless at least I have a hypothesis
Yeah.
hypothesis of my value, and I'll own that. And when I'm doing personal coaching and I'm sitting with people for the first time ever, in the first 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I may call out a limitation in that person that they see and I see that's true, but do it in a very tactful way. And one of the first people I ever coached, I think I met through Oren, and he had like this sales war book and he was doing all this stuff. He's working with this company. It's like, you could be making what Oren's making. And it like shattered his world because he agreed. He's like, wow, no one's ever told me that. But that was the thing in the room that was just so evident. And I boldly just told him the limitation and kind of in a way of encouragement. But yeah, it's showing up with a point of view and then trusting your inner voice, your gut, which is hard to teach, right, John? That takes some time to get that level of intuition and real-time actioning to your inner voice. But I think for your reps, coming in with a strong point of view, even if it's wrong, and being courageous enough to do that, because they'll respect that. Final thought, Jerry Springer. Final thought, Johnny. Can you take us out?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got the book coming out in just over a month. We're pretty excited about that, but we're not here to plug it. So, all our efforts will be going into that, and we massively appreciate the support we've got from this room and beyond it. And we think we've got something special, and more importantly, we've got some special people in this room. Today's been incredible. We're kind of raising each other's frames, and ultimately, we never stop learning. So, I'm getting better. I think Justin's getting better. Hopefully, everybody in the room gets better together, and loving seeing you guys interacting there. Let's just keep it up and keep helping each other to kill it. And thanks so much for showing up.
Good to see everyone. Auf Wiedersehen. See you
See you
soon.
soon.
Cheers.